Good morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Our focus this morning is on bullying. Statistics show bullying and harassment has become a huge problem. It's becoming more and more frequent among today's youth in locations like school and online. It's estimated that 160,000 children miss school every day due to fear of attack or intimidation by other students. My guests today represent a unique community-based nonprofit student advocacy group that was formed in response to the recent high-profile incidents of bullying in our community and across the country. James Dean is the Vice President of Generations Against Bullying, and he's being joined by a peer ambassador for GAB, Sidney Schacht, who's a sophomore at Greendale High School. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you both for being here. And as I stated, bullying is an issue in this day and age, and I think it's an age-old issue, but with the things like the internet, social media, it has gotten far worse than I think any of the stories we can remember growing up. So could you start off telling us more about Generations Against Bullying and what it is you do?
Sure. Generations Against Bullying got started just because of what you said. We had 2 bomb threats in a local high school as a direct result of bullying. And a lot of that incurred cyberbullying, and that's what you mentioned. You know, when we grew up, I'm a white-haired old guy, but when I grew up, bullying was much different. And when you left school, it didn't follow you. But now it follows you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year with the cyberbullying. So the American Medical Association and the American Psychological Association have deemed bullying an epidemic. It's getting worse. There's a mountain of information, Andrea, that has been written about bullying. Great programs, good manuals, good information, and yet the problem continues to get worse.
Yeah.
And we ask that question, why? So we found a very telling statistic. And that statistic said that if a bystander to bullying stands up in a non-threatening way, the bullying will stop 85% of the time within 10 seconds.
Wow.
And that's where why our peer ambassador, Sidney, is with us here today.
Yeah. And so I was going to say, you, as you just mentioned, primarily focus on the bullying mentality that has occurred in past generations and continues to occur today. But you also strive to change the culture of learning for current and future generations, and that's where Sidney comes in. So as he just mentioned, you are a peer ambassador with Generations Against Bullying. If you would tell us about what it means to you to be a peer ambassador and what it is you do to help put a stop to bullying.
Well, being a peer ambassador to me means the world. I see bullying every single day, everywhere I go. And to be a peer ambassador is to be a voluntary student, and you volunteer your time to learn what bullying is and how to stop it and how to become an upstander. And we take classes and we learn lessons, and we have speakers come in and tell us their stories and how they had experience with bullying and how they turned it around and how we can turn it around ourselves.
Wow. And so when we talk about being in a school environment, a lot of times, you know, kids can be cruel, and if you stand up for someone, they'll call you a goody two-shoe. I don't know what they call kids these days, but how do you intervene and kind of be on both sides of the scenario without trying to sound like you're telling anybody what to do, so to speak?
Well, kids don't like to listen to parents, and we all know that, but they like listening to their peers and the people they look up to. So if you even go in and say, I don't think that's cool, they'll most likely stop. They don't like not being cool, and that's one of the things that bullies do, is they want to look cool, want to look tough.
Yeah,
so when you stop that.
I read with your profile that you take great pride in being a leader, and so a lot of times in school you have followers, and what happens if one person starts picking on someone, then everybody else kind of gets in, and that's where kids really feel that pressure, and sometimes they don't want to come to school. A lot of kids quit school and they don't know who to talk to or where to turn to. So you guys within Generations Against Bullying are all about being an upstander and not a bystander. Explain how everybody watching can be an upstander.
Well, an upstander is someone who is in a situation or sees a situation of bullying and they don't stop it, or they do stop it and they don't let the bully continue. So just walking in and even standing next to the victim could potentially stop the bully.
I love that. So talk about why it's so important to have young people like Sidney take part in this, because like she said, a lot of times kids hear adults and they're saying the same thing she's saying, but kids have a better way of relating to her as a peer. How did you figure out that this was important to have kids in school to do this?
That's a very good question, and it took us a little bit of thinking to do that. We thought about the present situation and we thought, why is it getting worse? Schools do have protocol and so forth to follow when bullying occurs, but the bullying doesn't occur in front of a principal or a teacher or a counselor. It's occurring amongst the student body.
Right.
It's the students that see this going on. By the time it gets to the school's attention that they have to take some action with it, many times it's punitive and negative and you have suspensions and detentions. So we thought, if we can get the kids to understand what bullying is and then give them non-threatening ways to get involved in it as a bystander, from being a bystander to becoming an upstander, now we can put the power back into the hands of students like Sidney, and we can start stopping that bullying process right in the student body, and we can change the culture of learning. Eventually, you'll feel the whole school changing, the whole environment changes to a much more positive environment.
Yeah.
And so if we can put that power back into the hands of students like Sidney, that's going to have a powerful effect, and it'll really help take the pressure off of the administration and the schools.
Yeah, I like that. So you do have a group of motivational speakers that represent various facets of our society, and they've teamed up with GAP to actually talk to young people. So you have your peer ambassadors, but you also have some pretty hefty, well-known names that come through.
Yeah.
So kids have a tendency to listen to adults that they look up to as well.
Oh, they sure do.
Yeah.
When you talk about a hefty one, Gilbert Brown doesn't get any more hefty than one of the Super Bowl champion Green Bay Packers.
Oh, yeah.
And one of his teammates was William Henderson. They're both motivational speakers for us and have partnered with us. William was here recently and talked to 7 schools in the Waukesha area, and it was a terrific response. I mean, the kids were just on fire to listen to the stories that William had to tell. And we also have a local athlete, a coach as it will, Clay Iverson from McWanago High School. He actually was an MC at one of our movie night events that we held at McWanago High School. And he was such a great speaker, so we talked to him afterward and got to know him a little bit, and he's got a great motivational speech about championship standards. And Clay has had many championship teams. He's been a Coach of the Year and District Coach of the Year a number of times. And guess what? Championship standards motivational speech to football players is about love.
Yeah.
Think about that. He gets his football players to think about loving each other, because if they love each other, they work as a team. And isn't it any different than our peer ambassadors who work with not only being upstanders, but work on self-esteem and self-worth and character building, of which love fits right in. And that helps create the empathy that they want to step in and help somebody.
Yeah, and Sidney, you said that you see bullying every single day, pretty much everywhere you go. What are some of the examples? Because there's different ways that people can bully. I mean, a lot of people automatically imagine the big kid who's bigger than everybody throwing rocks or pulling hair. Things have changed just a little bit. So what are some of the scenarios that come to mind that you've witnessed?
Well, social media is a big one, and people don't realize they're bullying until someone says so. So when you're an upstander and you say something, that's when they really realize it. I also see it in the hallways at school and in the classrooms. You hear something and someone threatens someone or says, go jump off a bridge, and they don't really realize what they're saying until someone intervenes.
Because there have been sad stories where kids actually do take their lives because of something that's said or done to them within the school walls or online. So it is very serious, and I think that what you're doing, Sidney, is awesome, and it's a great example to so many young people out there of what it means to stand up and have your own identity, and if you don't stand up for something, you'll fall for anything, right?
Yeah.
That's the age-old saying. And I wanted to talk about, you guys, do you conduct the puppet shows for the elementary school kids, the peer ambassadors?
Yes, we do, and that's just one of our minor projects.
Okay, and so when you go and talk to kids who are a little younger than the high schoolers that you're around every day, what are some of the things that you say to them as far as getting that message across?
Well, one of our big things is saying that it doesn't last forever, and stand up for yourself and stand up for others, and the problem will go away if you stay strong.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing. I remember being bullied. We talked about this the last time you were on the show about a year ago, and you know, you do hear parents say, well, just ignore them, they'll stop, and sometimes it just doesn't feel like it's going to stop. But I think when you have peer ambassadors and people know that there's somebody they can turn to or talk to and not feel like they're tattling or bringing in the administration and causing a bigger problem, I think that you guys are doing an outstanding job in making kids get past this scenario.
You know, in our day, it was, you know, you got to grow a thicker skin.
Yeah.
And sometimes that worked, but today it's a whole different ball game in schools that Sidney and the rest have to be in. And it is. One of the biggest things that we offer is hope. You know, you can talk about all of the dangerous things, the suicides and that are going on. Bullycide is a direct result of bullying, but you've got to give them hope, and that's what our peer ambassadors do and what our programs do, whether it's a movie night or our interventions or whatever. It gives them hope that somebody's there to stand with them and be by them, if not just to listen to what's going on, that they're there to help. And we know that at one of our movie nights, we saved somebody's life. They came up afterward and thanked our speaker, and he said, well, thank you very much. But he said, no, it was deeper than that. He said, I was thinking about taking my life tonight, and I'm not going to do that anymore because of your message.
Wow.
So it's a message of hope that we have to give them.
Yeah. And Sidney, before we run out of time, I wanted to find out, what are your plans after high school?
Well, my plans after high school are to definitely go to college, and I would really love to be an actress and director. And being in this program, I really hope that if I do follow my dreams and become an actress and director, I can change the way people see TV and social media.
I love that. They gave me chill bumps because that's where it starts, right?
It does.
I love that. And as we wrap up this segment, recently, Generations Against Bullying made the headlines with helping make a difference in a situation that definitely something we would deem as bullying. There's a young lady who was a cheerleader in Kenosha, and she had Down syndrome, and she was being bullied by some kids there, and you had athletes and other cheerleaders stand up for her, and it got a lot of positive attention. So tell us about that.
Yes. Desiree Andrews has Down syndrome, and there were fans that were heckling her from the opposing team because she couldn't quite do the cheers like the normal cheerleaders do. And during a timeout, boys from the basketball team stood up and went in and became upstanders and told these people in the stands that, knock it off, Desiree is our cheerleader and we're proud of her, and we want you to stop saying the things you're saying.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we're trying to do, is bring that upstanding thoughts to their mind that, hey, we can do something about it, and we don't have to do it in a physical way, we can do it in a non-threatening way. So we were invited down because of what we do with being upstanders, and this is from the Kenosha News, it's front page news, and it shows the medal that Generations Against Bullying gave to Desiree, the whole basketball team, as well as all of the cheerleaders of this basketball team. We applaud these young people. That's exactly what we're trying to do, and we've been working hard to get our message across, and they're getting the message.
And they were rewarded. I think I read they're going to a Bucks game or something exciting along those lines. So this is what it's all about. So I would love for you to stick around so you can tell us more about the outstanding things that you're doing with Generations Against Bullying. And Sidney, I just want to say thank you so much for what you do to help make a difference and continued success.
Thank you.
James Dean is the VP of Generations Against Bullying. He's going to stick around to tell us more about the many things they're doing to change lives. And a very special thank you to Sidney Schacht. She's a peer ambassador for Generations Against Bullying. When we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we'll continue our conversation about bullying and be joined by Miss Wisconsin High School 2015, Bailey Bennett. And we'll do that right after this.